Mic is on, lights are ready, no disguises, no confetti. This is truth, no superstition. We don't tell stories, we bring facts, not fiction. Open ears, open mind, what you'll hear is real this time. We are truth on the table, no condition. We are presenting facts, not fiction. We are no fear, no manipulation. We are this is information. Facts, not fiction. No myths. No myths. No superstition. Yeah. Real voices, real information. We are facts, not fiction.
Thank you for joining us today. We are going to be doing a live here. We'll be bringing information that is hopefully it's going to be information about documents and the channel and about bringing information to the public. Everyone, thank you for joining us live, and also for those who will be watching this as a replay. Tonight live is informational and educational. Our goal is not to convince anyone not to attack their beliefs or not to spread rumors. Our goal is to put information in the correct order, documents first, claims second. Everything we're going to share today and tonight in this live, or if you hear it today or if you hear it at another time, everything we're going to share tonight is based on public and available records, their documents and testimonies that members have heard and seen. And we are encouraging everyone to watching this to verify everything we do here and any document or anything that you have that we will present here on this channel to independently verify it. We are not lawyers. We don't give legal advice. We will present documents and information throughout our lives. We want to bring awareness to the public that is listening to us that these records, the information and public records that we are presenting are legal. You can find these at any time in any government website or public website. Here to provide information for anyone that wants to have the information that we will be presenting on our channel. Little by little, day by day, with every life that we do, we will try to bring the best information possible with our knowledge that we have, and it is based on public records, and that's basically what we want to inform the audience that all this information we'll bring is public records. An introduction, first of all, to who we are to the audience. Once again, we want to introduce ourselves to the audience, and we'll be doing this regularly in the podcast that we're providing, so the audience knows who we are, where we came from. I want to let the audience know that my name is Leroy. I go by Rogelio on the internet, on the podcast, but my name is Leroy. And the reason I come here, we decided to do this with our images because the information we're going to be bringing, and we believe that in order to have credibility to the audiences, that we show our faces, we tell the audience who we are, we give the audience our image, so you can verify all this information. Once again, I'll say it many times, any information that we provide here is information that we've obtained through court documents, through legal streams of websites, through government agencies. I was a member of the Luz del Mundo Church for over 30 years. I worked and participated in the church events. I worked in construction. I worked in the sales. Anything that, as being part of this organization, the LLDM, or La Luz del Mundo, or in English, the Light of the World Church, we dedicated our lives to helping and on the church. Usually It's basically we're giving our time and effort to the church, and it was voluntarily. And also in construction, I worked at the French, I worked at the Houston church, I worked in our local churches in construction, providing my services to the church, to this organization, La Luz en Mundo, or the Light of the World Church. I eventually, throughout the years, after over 30 years of being part of that organization, within those 30 years, also as a couple, we joined Berea. We were a part of Berea for over 20 years. We worked together to provide the content that many of you probably most likely saw on Berea News, on Berea LLM News, or on the Light of the World Church websites, or on podcasts or streams. We also provided videos and information to Berea and other entities that were part of the Berea organization. We helped. We worked together as a couple many times. I work in broadcasting. I worked in communications. We did videos, we edit videos. We worked to provide this information to the Luz en Mundo members at the time we attended that church.
And we'll be showing you some of those videos later on as proof.
Yes.
So you won't say that we were just lying about it.
We have proof that we were part of that organization. We're part of Berea. But today we decided to come out and do this podcast. We've been talking about it for a while. We have had friends, members that have come to us and tell us, why don't you do a live in English? We'll present the videos where we'll allow the public, the ones that the audience is listening, to give your own assessment on these videos, or the documents. And once again, I encourage the public to obtain these documents. We will be providing documents that you can verify your own. I encourage the public or the audience to obtain these documents. Now I'm saying that a question was asked that what parts of the Berea I worked in or we helped. Basically, we worked in all Berea. Whatever they needed, it was Berea music, Berea communications, Berea, name it, right? There's like about 7-8 different branches. But all this time was
mostly photography and video.
Yes, but we donated our time. This was all our time. We were in Berea 100%. It was our time there in Berea. But this channel is not about Berea. It's about information. In the future, we can do a live and talk about our lives and our backgrounds. But today, we want to bring this information. Our channel is going to be about bringing information that's factual and not fiction. And all information, once again, I'll probably say it 100 times here in the channel because I want to make sure the audience understands and the ones that are listening to us, this information can be verified. You can verify this information. And we're not here to debate. We're not going to debate anyone. If anyone comes and contradicts us or wants to contradict us, or that's their point of view, just like we have our point of view. We have the right, but we will try to be neutral as much as possible. Even though we were part of this organization, if you still belong at that organization, if you still attend that organization, we will put questions out there for you to question, and we would let you judge for your own self what we were putting out. Let you find and see that the information we will give here to the audience, that you come to your own conclusions, but the information we'll provide are facts and not fiction. We're going to start by giving some background to the organization as we continue here. We want to provide a little bit of background for those that are new to the channel or be hearing this at a future date, or that way those that are new or not part of this organization, they have a little bit of background to who we will be talking about, who we will be presenting here. Most of our audience will probably know who we'll be talking about, but we want to give a little introduction. We want to give an introduction to who these people we're going to be talking about. And the organization is La Luz en Mundo, or the Light of the World Church, as it's said in English. We will provide some information, a little background of why we're here, what's going on, and for LLDM, or the Light of the World Church.
Okay, to understand anything else, we first need to establish who this person is.
not according to the organization, but according to federal court records. Very important. Not according to the organization, but according to federal court records. We're going to let you know who he is. This first paper, document, it is United States of America, the District of New York versus Nason Joaquin Garcia, Rosa Sosa, Azalia Rangel Garcia, Eva Garcia de Joaquín, Joram Núñez Joaquín, y Silem Garcia Peña versus who? United States of America, District of New York. What you're seeing on the screen right now is a federal court document. This document identifies that individuals, or the individual, which is Nason Joaquin Garcia, as a leader of the religious organization known as A la Luz del Mundo. According to the court, this individual is not described in spiritual terms. He's identified in legal terms, by name, by role, and by accusations brought against him. We're not going to add anything here. We're not going to interpret motives. We're simply reading what the court itself states. The grand jury charges Nason Joaquin Garcia, Rosa Sosa, Azalia Rangel Garcia, Eva Garcia de Joaquín, Joram Núñez Joaquín, y Silem Garcia Peña, the defendants. The defendants are the ones that are trying to defend themselves in this court document. And there's something very important right here. It says, and others known and unknown. Very important. Why, Rogelio? Because it says that not only them, not only these 6 people, not only these 6 people, but also others known, because this court is saying that they are after, and also unknown, the ones that they don't know about. These people, he says, that abuse the power, the doctrine, and the structure of La Luz del Mundo Church. To threaten, to coerce, and to beep, and I'm not saying the word because we might get
blocked.
Blocked.
We don't
Yes.
want our channel to be
So
blocked.
whenever I see that word, I'm going to say beep. I'm going to try to. They say to threaten, to coerce, and to beep, abuse girls, boys, and women in the LLDM church, to engage in financial crimes, and to obstruct criminal investigations into their misdeeds. The defendants and their conspiration collectively, as defined below as a Joaquin LLDM enterprise, executed this scheme over the course of decades, abusing generations of church members and then destroying evidence to obstruct detention by law enforcement. This document, later on, we will explain this document also because it's naming Joram Núñez Joaquín and Silem Garcia Peña. I just want you guys to understand that one of the charges against them is that these people were destroying evidence to obstruct detention by law enforcement, which means they're trying to destroy evidence to silence victims. Now, it says the defendant and their conspiration used LLDM Church as a vehicle to commit trafficking of women and children, to induce victims.
These personnel that we will be talking about in the future, we just want to give an introduction of who they are. There's Joram Núñez Joaquín and Silem Garcia Peña. Will be giving a podcast exclusively on these 2 persons mentioned here in this document. They work to silence and to destroy evidence. That is what is some of the documents that we will be presenting in the future, talking about when we go into the documents talking about Silem Joram Núñez. We will touch that subject and we will bring that information to the audience. We just wanted to give an introduction of why we're here, what these people are, which we will be talking about to the audience. So that's why we are introducing this document here. Thank you once again for being here. Hopefully the information we bring to you is educational. On part 2, it says the La Luz del Mundo, the LLDM Church, is a Christian church founded in Mexico in or about 1926 by Eusebio Joaquin Gonzalez, who went by the name Aaron, and was the grandfather of Nason Joaquin Garcia, the defendant here in these documents. Aaron declared himself the apostle of the LDM Church for the entirety of the LLDM Church's existence. His leadership has been consolidated in Aaron's family and his descendants, the Joaquin family. The church remains under the control of the Joaquin family to this day. Aron led the LLDM church until his death in 1964. Upon Aron's death, his son Samuel Joaquin Flores, Samuel, became the apostle of the LLDM church. Samuel was the apostle of the LLDM church until his death in 2014. Upon Samuel's death, his son Nason Joaquin Garcia, the defendant, became the apostle of the LLDM church, and Nason remains the apostle today. The LLDM church is based in Guadalajara, the capital of the Mexican state of Jalisco. There are LLDM church locations throughout the United States, including in California, New York, Nevada, Texas, Georgia, Indiana, North Carolina, South Carolina, New Jersey, and Washington, D.C., among other places.
Say present if you live there.
The LLDM church doctrine propagated by Aron, Samuel, and Nason Joaquin Garcia, the defendant, teaches, among other things, that the apostle is directly chosen by God to the servant of God on earth. B, the apostle cannot sin, and therefore nothing the apostle does is a sin. C, the only way for members of the LLDM church to obtain eternal salvation is to follow the teachings of the apostle. God will punish and internally damn anyone who doubts the apostle, fails to follow the apostle's teachings, or defines the apostle. D, anyone who is not a member of LLDM church is considered a Gentile and will suffer eternal damnation. Members of the LLDM church are discouraged from associating with non-members. C, if a member of the LLDM church leaves the church, they are to be ostracized by all members. Leaving the LLDM church therefore means losing contacts with any family members or friends who remain in the church. F, serving the apostle and his family is a blessing and can lead to eternal salvation. G, members of the LLDM church are forbidden from engaging in any sexual contact outside of marriage. Members who engage in external sexual activities have committed the sins of fornication and will be punished. H, members of LLDM church are expected to tithe a portion of their income to the LLDM church and are frequently expected to make additional cash offerings that benefit the apostle and the Joaquin family. This document here, we wouldn't stop there for today, but we will touch each one of these subjects. What I want to bring here today is that this document here gives us a lot of information. We will bring information. We'll go deeper dive into this document. Wanted to give a little introduction to who this organization is, and this document here gives a good indication of who this organization, the LLDM, is. It gives us introduction of their beliefs and the way that this organization works, their inner works. It was a good, when I was reading this document, I wanted to see how we can introduce the LLDM organization to the public. This document here, that is a court document, gives a very introduction to the La Luz del Mundo, or the Light of the World Church. Those that were part of the Luz del Mundo, those were part of the organization, they know that every one of these paragraphs that we read actually were things that we're confined to do. So we'll go on this document in a later date and go more in depth. But for right now, we wanted to do an introduction to who LLDM was, and that's why we presented the document, decided to read this part of the document, as an introduction to LLDM, or La Luz del Mundo. At this point, we will continue with our live that we will bring. Today's live is going to be over talking about the incarceration. We're not incarcerated as of today. There's also other members of his family where they are incarcerated. We will play some videos here that the same organization has posted on their own websites and on social media. These audios and videos, we obtained them once because they are public. The audios are public use. Once you post something on the internet or you transmit something on it becomes public use, as that we take the time to provide this information. And we're going to let you, the audience, listen to these audios, listen to what they say, and let the audience, we're here to let the audience make their own decision. Our channel is about facts and fiction, and we will provide the information, and the audience is there to do their own investigation once again and see if it's facts or fiction. So here we go with our first audio, and then we will analyze it afterwards.
Recordando las palabras de su siervo en su aniversario de vida, si la cárcel tuviera que pisar, no porque algo hubiera cometido él, no. Yo sé que tú no ocupas mi testimonio. En ese lugar, también déjame te platico, hay almas que ocupaban ser consoladas. Cuando llegan a visitar al apóstol del Señor, las propias personas que ahí están le dicen a los que le visitan, vienen con el pastor, sí, no se preocupen, nosotros estamos cuidando de él, no le va a pasar absolutamente nada. Un día, déjame te doy testimonio, un día estaba yo en Los Ángeles y llegó el hermano Marco, el hermano diácono local de ese lugar. No es la ciudad, no es la iglesia donde tu hermano está, solamente me había tocado estar unos días en guardia y llegaba un hermano, el hermano diácono, y me decía, hermano Joram, hay una persona, hay un gentil que lo está buscando. Preguntaba yo al hermano, ¿a mí, hermano? Sí. ¿Y usted lo conoce? ¿Es visita de aquí? No, hermano, nunca lo había visto. Pero llegó preguntando por usted, nos dio su nombre completo, dice que preguntáramos por usted. Le dije por aquel temor, hermano, pues véngase, lo bueno es que era hora de oración. Le digo, acompáñeme, vamos a ver quién será. Y ya llego yo y me dice, mire, es él. Y me dice aquella persona, oiga, ¿usted se llama Joram? Sí, yo soy. Es que me mandó aquí una persona, dice, un pastor, yo vengo saliendo de la cárcel, de la prisión de Chino. ¿Usted conoce a alguien que se llama Nazón Joaquín? ¿Cómo no? Es mi padre en la fe. Es el apóstol de Jesucristo. Mire, me dijo, yo estuve en la cárcel unos meses por algo. Y como su falta era leve, él era la persona encargada de repartir los alimentos. Y yo estuve ahí con el hermano Nazón y repartía los alimentos, trataba de apurarme, de acabar lo más pronto. Ahí se come a las 6 de la tarde, trataba de repartirlo lo más pronto, porque el hermano Nazón a las 8 de la noche da su estudio. Le digo, ¿cuál estudio? Él a veces se hinca y canta, dice, cuando está solito, porque a veces nos encierran él solito. Ahí lo tienen en el último lugar del corredor y todos lo están escuchando entonar sus alabanzas. Pero hay otras veces que nos dejan sueltos un tiempo más y ahí corre un grupito y por eso me apresuro para ver si alcanzo todavía a entrar. A veces cantamos, otras veces lo encontramos sentado en su cama y nosotros nos sentamos en el piso y empieza a hablarnos. Y cuando supo que iba a salir, me dijo que viniera a este lugar, me dio más o menos las direcciones y me dijo que preguntara por usted. Ya lo presenté con el hermano José y en la próxima oportunidad que hubo de hablar con el apóstol de Dios, le dije, varón de Dios, llegó esta persona y su rostro se iluminó. Sí llegó, sí, varón de Dios, llegó. ¿Quién es? Y se lo encargaste al ministro, al hermano José. Sí, varón de Dios, ya están visitándolo, ya está yendo con toda su familia. ¿Quién es? Es uno de mis miembros. No está formando una iglesia. Ahí tiene él ya su iglesia. Pero no hay agua. Él es el que no necesita agua. Pero no hay ministros para hacer avivamientos. Él es como Pablo, quien puede imponer las manos y dar la prenda del Espíritu Santo. A uno de sus compañeros, cómo le dolió, no solo al varón de Dios, a ese compañero. Se lo llevaron una noche sin avisarle y su grande tristeza. El siervo de Dios lo dijo en una carta, que aquel hombre gritaba, díganle a Joaquín, díganle a García, despídanme de él, díganle que lo voy a extrañar. Y lo transfirieron a otra prisión. Tiempo después, porque él está purgando una condena muy larga. Tiempo después, a ese hombre que fue compañero del apóstol de Dios, se encontró con un hermano en esa nueva prisión. Aquel hermano había cometido una falta y platicando con él se dieron cuenta que ambos conocían al varón de Dios y el hermano se dio cuenta que él era el que el siervo de Dios había testificado. Le había llamado el ruso en una de sus cartas y había testificado de él y cómo le había dolido su partida. Y se abrazaron y dice aquel hermano y le dijo esa persona, ese preso, ¿cómo me duele no haberme despedido del hermano García? Pero yo le pido a Dios un día volverme a encontrar con él, que me trasladen a mí o que lo trasladen a él, pero yo quiero volver a estar con él. Y le dice aquel hermano, no, ¿qué estás haciendo? Ni se te ocurra. Allá afuera vemos miles que le estamos pidiendo al Señor que salga. Y le dijo aquel hombre, pues aquí adentro habemos muchos que le estamos pidiendo que no se nos vaya, porque Él es nuestro consuelo.
Correct?
Sí, exacto. Joram is the one that's speaking here. Joram is the one that is right now incarcerated in Brooklyn, in the Southern New York District of Correctional Facility in Brooklyn. He's Joram Nunes, and he's the one giving this testimony. This testimony is giving it to the church, where in one of the churches in California, where he was telling the members that his uncle here, Nason Joaquin Garcia, at this time that we're looking here, at the time his uncle has stated on his birthday, on his 50th birthday, that if he was one day incarcerated, if he was one day set foot in a jail cell, or in a prison or in incarcerated, he was gonna fill that prison or that jail with members. He was gonna preach his word. He was a preach the word of God, and he was gonna tell them that he's the apostle, and he was gonna fill that prison or that jail. What information we want to get from this part of the video here is that to analyze the video is that we wanted to bring that video showing that the members are told that the man of God is building a church. He was at this time he was in Chino, California. He was building a church. He has his members. He doesn't need water to baptize them. He does not need him because he's the apostle. Basically, that's what the testimonies here is, that because he's the apostle, he has the authority to, just like Pablo did, to lay hands and they receive the Holy Spirit. And because he's the apostle, he's basically stating that he can forgive their sins and they don't need a baptism. And in this case, this member, according to the testimony that Joram was giving to the church, he came to the church looking for the church because he was now a member of the Luz del Mundo. The question I want to come out of this is, while we worked in Berea, we were sent out to receive, and anytime there was a testimony someone had to give, we were sent to record these testimonies. When we traveled to Guadalajara, and let's say testimony that I had was arriving in Guadalajara, these members had a difficult time arriving to Guadalajara. They were involved in an accident. They were involved in a very serious situation. They survived. So the first thing we went and found in the middle of the night, we're talking about 2, 3 in the morning, waking up members, trying to find this family that survived, and just to get their testimony. And being part of Berea, we were sent out to do this kind of work to get these testimonies, right? So my point was my question here is on this video is, if this person does exist, if this person is out there, the church itself is always putting out videos or looking for ways to tell the audience, look, there's a testimony here. Look, here's a person that came out. I believe if this person did exist, this is the question you need to ask, does this person really exist? Because in my point of view, in my being part of La Luz del Mundo, we will go out and any testimony that really emphasized to the church or to the world that trying to show that this church is the true church, we try to capture those testimonies. And here we see this testimony that's given by Joram Nunes. But at the same time, my question, and now to the public, is where is this member? Does anybody in California? I've been looking for the information. Where did this member go? Where did this supposedly person that got saved by Nason and he came out and he went looking for the church? Where's his name? What were his whereabouts? this is the question to ask, and that's the reason we're playing this video, because the church was told that once again by Nason, when he was in his 50th birthday, he stood up and said that if one day I incarcerated, he was gonna fill the
Church.
jail.
The members, the jail
He was gonna fill
with the Evangelio.
the jail cells or the full of members, and he was gonna. So here, what I see is they're just trying to tell the members and keep the members
Gaslighting, like you said.
believing that the apostle was giving his testimony. And then the second part of this video, there's another question I would like to ask is, it talks about a Russian guy, a Russian inmate. And that Russian, the Nason, the apostle of this organization, the Luz del Mundo, he talked to this Russian, right? And he tells him that, and he preaches to him, he believes in the apostle. He goes and he moves on because they move on to another prison. He meets this other inmate that supposedly belongs to the church. And in this case, that member he starts telling that member, Nason has a lot of followers. So the question I would like to leave here with the audience is, if Nason has all these members in Chino, California, where he was in prison before,
What happened to those members?
now that he has moved on, right? Now that he has moved on to the southern district of New York and Brooklyn, and he's incarcerated now in Brooklyn at a federal prison, where are those ministers? Are those ministers going out there? That's the question I'm asking here. I'm just asking questions. The information here is, I'm not saying it's fiction, but if there's facts, where are these ministers? Are these ministers attending to these prisoners, these inmates that Nason left at Chino, California?
Now, like you said, we, as members of Berea, there was nothing that we could miss. We were ready for cameras. They better be charged. We were ready with all this equipment, ready to run whenever something new was going on. So the moment that there is, let's say, let me give you an example. For example, this guy arrives to this church, okay? This is the thing that literally will happen, or it should happen, or I don't know if it's still happening. Maybe they changed the rules of Berea and we don't know. But literally, as soon as that person arrived and he's talking about the servant of God, somebody is going to run and get a camera and bring it, or take out a cell phone and start recording, because guess what? We can show this to the church so the church can understand that something is going on in Chino. So the question is, this person true? Is he really came and talked to to Joram and told him that the servant of God said to come and look for him? Or is it something that it was made up? And like you said, even if it was not made up, let's say that it happened. Let's give it the benefit of the doubt that it happened. Who ran to get the camera to show the world that a Russian guy, if it was a Russian, maybe his name was only Russo, maybe, but who did not really, the church doesn't move unless there's a camera.
And the reason I have these questions, because we ran many times to get a camera to capture a testimony or anyone that had something great to say about the apostle. If somebody had a comment or said that any positive comment towards the church, and they did not belong to the church, and they were not a member of the church, we ran and got a camera. We ran, did an interview together many times. We did it here. It comes to mind. It comes to mind. There was a wrestler that out of Laredo, Texas, and he started talking. He started wearing NJG all over his trunks, his mask, and he was going around saying that he believed in Nason. And what did we do? We ran to Laredo. We picked up the camera. We ran. We did it on our own time to go capture that wrestler. Right? We wanted that rest. And then we put it on Berea News. We publicized it on different websites and gave his testimony that he believed in Nason. He believed, and he eventually, in the massive baptisms they had worldwide, those that were part of the LDM organization, there was a worldwide baptisms. He came and he got baptized. But then we interviewed him afterwards. because that once again we had to get his interview of how he felt getting baptized and being part of the LDM organization. And so the reason we play this video is to open your mind, trying to open up the audience mind and say, where is this person? Why is there no video? Why is there no real testimony except for the person that's giving this testimony? His name is Joram Nunes. He's at this time incarcerated along with his uncle Nason, and he's incarcerated in in Brooklyn at the
Metropolitan Detention Center.
At the South New York Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. Sorry,
Exactly.
I'm getting my words here. But the point of this video was that
Just want to make you think.
that want to make the audience think and say, is this fact or is it fiction? And that is a question that the members or that are there should be asking. Who's this person is? Don't let ourselves just go by because a minister or a member stood up and said this testimony and then take it to fact.
He's mentioning about the soccer player as well from Costa Rica.
Well, there's a soccer player from Costa Rica.
How about the lady that
we also went to interview a boxer.
A boxer,
The boxer
as well?
that we met her in Guadalajara. We sat with her. We interviewed her.
Basically, the new things that happens, we're on top of it.
And the reason we brought this up because we're part of Berea and we did this kind of work, and we want to put a question out there: is this person exist? If these persons do exist, then where is they? This organization loves to publish and put out anything.
I think we would have met Russo by now and his family, because he says that they already went to talk to the family and they're coming to church to visit. So if anybody there in Los Angeles, please let us know. Share with us some pictures, because
I've been looking for information.
We need to know who he is, because
no one seems to know who this person is. You're remembering that lady that they interviewed in Guadalajara, that she stated that she knew Nason and that she had a good testimony for him. And not only did they interview her on the streets of Guadalajara, they also took her into the studio in Guadalajara and interviewed her there. And for a while, she was like a
superstar,
because they had her everywhere. Every time I open up, every time I open up a web page or a Facebook page or that belongs to the church, she's going over these videos. It gives me a sense that they try to paint the apostle, and not so Joaquin Garcia, the man that's being
like sitting down and
talking like if he's talking to. Like the Bible, the apostles sit down, Jesus Christ came and talked to the members, and everybody sat around, and at the moment that he was going to speak, everybody listened.
Exactly.
And the way that they paint him or try to portray him in these audios, and basically they're talking to the church, right? And I'm talking to the church members on this video, and I'm talking to the members that are still there to question themselves. Once again, question yourselves: is this facts or is this fiction?
Yes, and question yourself, where are those videos?
Go ahead.
We'll
try to cue the other video that we have. Hopefully it plays. But yes, that's what we want. Give introduction to what's going on and question. Always question. We need to question what goes on. That's the main thing. We were told not to question when we were there. We were told not to ask questions, not just take it as what it was, what it is. It is what it is, and you walked away and don't question. And many times I did that. I went in and asked questions, and then they turned me away with saying, you're going too deep, or you think too much, or you drawing to conclusions, but it's not the way and they would turn me away, but I never got a definite answer. And the whole thing is I've always looked for answers for everything that is said. I always look for documents. I always look for if it's true or not. And that's why we decided we've been talking about this podcast, and we should open up a podcast. What should it be about? And my belief is that we should always talk with the truth. And if the truth is by bringing documents, the truth is always would be the truth. Exactly. And that's who we are. We as a couple, we always believe that the truth is, and that's what we taught our kids.
Let me play this.
Let me play the video.
Let me play the video. This video is another, and we're not going to go too much into this one. We're just going to listen to it and then talk a little bit about it. And then we'll go show the video of where he was and where he is right now. Got it?
Ya no está en prisión, ya salió. Bendito sea el Señor. Estos testimonios se seguirán manifestando. Enseguida otro, en las mismas circunstancias y de la misma manera. A este ya le habían dicho que en 15 días. ¿Sería que el otro le platicó? No sé, no sabemos. ¿Sería que el otro le dijo? ¿Le sugirió? ¿Por qué no vas? En un caso o en el otro, sería lo mismo. Él creyó, fue. Y estando su familia allí, estando su familia en el día que le visita a la familia, llegó y lo interrumpió en la visita familiar. Te interrumpo. Perdóname, García, así le dicen unos. Otros le dicen Joaquín. García, perdóname que te interrumpa, sé que es tu familia, sé que viene tu familia, pero tengo 15 días de vida solamente. Ya me dijeron que en 15 días seré ejecutado, pero yo creo en tu oración, García. Yo creo en tu oración, García. Yo sé que eres de Dios. Hermano, a los 8 días le llegó la notificación que había sido condonado. Muchos se preguntan por qué. Nosotros sabemos por qué. Y que haga mi papeleo ya para quedar libre. No solo condenado de la pena, perdonado de la pena de muerte. No solo le condonaron esta pena, no, sino que también que tramitara ya su libertad. No es uno, fueron dos en ese sentido. Y ha habido más testimonios de esta manera. A Dios la gloria desde ahora y para siempre. Dios siga bendiciendo a su siervo. Siga hablando por él. Siga en su defensa. Y nosotros tenemos esa confianza que Dios seguirá con él. Que Dios estará a su lado porque es su escogido.
Once again, another audio, that video that will, once again, the question is, he was liberated, right? He's saying that he was liberated. He was here. It was talking about two persons that were condemned. They were condemned to. They were condemned to be
To die.
to be executed, and we actually got only the second testimony of the second. What eventually in this audio prior, there was two persons that were to be condemned to be executed, and they went. This one testimony here that we emphasize on is saying that this inmate went and the apostle was visiting with his family, and he went and he bothered him. He said, "Excuse me, you are man of God." So he asked for his prayer, and he had 15 days to live because he was going to be executed. Within a few days later, the testimony that this minister was giving is that this person was liberated and he was set free from, because he believed in the prayer of the apostle. He believed that he be in the apostle prayer. We're not going to question if he did or not believe, but the reason we play this video is, once again, is this person came out, this person gave this testimony, alive.
Where is he?
Once again, where is this person? The question and reason we're playing this video is, where is this person? Why is he not being presented to the church? What is his name? Where can anyone find him? Once again, I investigated, I looked, I asked, and no one knows about him. All they know is a testimony. A testimony was given at this moment in time in this church that this man was, these two men, it was two actually, that were condemned to be executed. And because of the prayer of the apostle, they are now liberated. They are now living free in this world. But where are their testimonies? Wouldn't this testimony be out on the web, on social media,
even on their website?
Websites be? I mean, they do all these different events and posts on their websites, on their Facebook pages, on their Instagrams, anything that they do, but these testimonies that are a great impact. They are a great impact for the church and for the church members. But where are those? Does people exist? Once again, is this fact or is it fiction? If it's facts, well, where is this person? Where is this testimony? Why haven't we seen this person in real life and been interviewed, and we can now say, oh yeah, he does exist.
And one of our subscribers, Billy Indigno, is asking, is he able to free his cellmates out of death sentence, but he can't free himself? This is one of the questions that they're asking.
Once again, Billy Indigno, that's a great question, because that's what this channel is all about. It's about asking questions. And if you want to take that it's a fact that he liberated, let's go a little bit deeper, right? If he did liberate it and he prayed so that these two, taking their own testimony, we're taking their testimony that he prayed and this man believed and he was liberated from execution, right? And then you have the Russian that also believed, and then you have the other one that also was part of his ministry in Chino, California. That's a true question. Why hasn't he not liberated his mother or his nephew? Those are questions to be asked, and that's all we come here to put that question out there. Is this information that they're putting out on their social media, on their to their members, to the organization, is it true? Is it just made up stories? That's why we were, once again, is it a fact or is it a fiction? We're going to be asking. We're not making conclusions. All we're asking is, if this is true, where can we find the truth? Where can we find this information? Where do these people do exist, and where are they at now? Is facts or is it fiction?
Mm-hmm. Now we're going to show you this video, excuse me, this video of Los Angeles jail, so you can see how the conditions and what's going on, what's happening over there. Oh, what is it about? There you go.
Nueva York es una de las prisiones federales más importantes y controvertidas de Estados Unidos. Alberga a hombres y mujeres de todos los niveles de peligrosidad. Por sus pasillos han caminado narcotraficantes, mafiosos y terroristas de alto perfil mundial. Así es, el Centro de Detención Metropolitano, el que este fin de semana recibió a Nicolás Maduro en la cárcel también conocida como el infierno en la tierra.
From inmates getting into bloody fights to a correctional officer accused of smuggling in drugs.
Algunos jueces se han negado a enviar detenidos a este centro debido a sus condiciones.
To hell on earth where chaos reigns.
Así es catalogada esta prisión, que tiene una de las peores reputaciones en ese país. El Metropolitan Detention Center, titulado por medios como el lugar donde reina el caos, acumula denuncias de apuñalamientos mortales, falta de personal, gusanos en la comida, infraestructura deteriorada y duras condiciones de vida en sus celdas.
One guy was stabbed in the eye with a makeshift knife, and there's stabbings at least a couple times a week.
Ubicada en el barrio de Sunset Park, al sur de Brooklyn, está localizada de forma estratégica entre oficinas de la Fiscalía y tribunales. Opera desde los 90 con vigilancia de punta, rodeada de barricadas de acero, con la capacidad de frenar la fuerza de 7 toneladas. Se estima que actualmente alberga a 1.336 presos de distintas nacionalidades.
A razor and a makeshift knife. Cockroaches in the food. Mold in the shower.
En su interior, una de las zonas más severas está ubicada en el piso 10, la división de internamiento especial para reclusos de alto perfil o problemáticos, donde los reos pasan 23 horas al día en sus celdas de 6 por 3 metros. Pero también hay áreas opuestas como 4 Norte, una unidad específica con condiciones más flexibles que las celdas tradicionales, con televisores, microondas o lugares para ejercicios. Centro que albergó, por ejemplo, a Joaquín Chapo Guzmán, miembros de Al Qaeda arrestados tras los atentados del 11 de septiembre de 2001, o Ghislaine Maxwell, pareja del fallecido Jeffrey Epstein, quien comparó el Centro de Detención Metropolitano con la del personaje ficticio de Aníbal Lecter en El silencio de los inocentes.
Ella ha sido objeto de abuso físico y emocional por parte de los funcionarios penitenciarios, condiciones de vida deficientes e insalubres, nutrición insuficiente, dificultades para revisar los millones de documentos de descubrimiento legal en el caso de su contra y privación del sueño.
Nicolás Maduro arribó a esta cárcel estadounidense, donde compartirá espacio con reclusos como Sean Diddy Combs, Ismael El Mayo Zambada, cofundador del cartel de Sinaloa, Rafael Caro Quintero, del cartel de Guadalajara, o Luigi Mangione. Pero el infierno en la tierra no solo protagoniza portadas por las figuras que alberga, sino también por la violencia en su interior. A inicios de milenio, la mano derecha de Osama Bin Laden apuñaló a un guardia con un peine, o el hecho más reciente, cuando en 2024 uno de sus reos murió apuñalado. Su mayor controversia fue en 2019, año en que un incendio eléctrico dejó sin luz ni calefacción a esta prisión, cuando el termómetro alcanzaba 16 grados bajo cero. Los reos golpearon las ventanas para pedir ayuda, desatando un caos dentro y fuera del recinto. Se espera que Nicolás Maduro permanezca en este recinto penitenciario mientras dure su proceso judicial en Estados Unidos, país que lo acusa de conspiración narcoterrorista y posesión de armas de fuego. El nuevo interno del Centro de Detención Metropolitano, que pasó del Palacio de Miraflores al infierno en la tierra.
Okay. Right away, I'm going to go ahead and put this other video. And he talks about the same thing. And then we're just going to talk about it real quick. Because I know time is going slow here. But let me show this one.
Houses about 1,300 federal inmates. The MDC is a massive building on the western edge of Brooklyn, just off the East River within sight of the Statue of Liberty. The MDC is currently the only federal correctional facility in all of New York City, and it has a history of overcrowding. It currently houses about 1,300 federal inmates. The facility is notorious for brutal conditions, poor sanitation, frequent power outages and losses of heat in winter, inadequate medical services. 2 inmates were killed at the MDC in 2024, and in March 2025, DOJ charged MDC inmates and a prison guard with acts of violence and with running a contraband smuggling operation inside the prison. Federal judges have described conditions at the MDC as barbaric and contemptuous of human dignity. Some judges have refused to send people to the MDC, granting bail or reduced sentences because of conditions at the facility. A Bureau of Prisons spokesperson told CNN in 2024 that BOP had taken steps to increase staffing and to address hundreds of outstanding maintenance issues that had not been resolved. The official said that Bureau of Prisons would continue to work to improve conditions at the prison.
The arrest of Maduro. Now, the media has paid more attention to the facility where the director of the Luz del Mundo organization is at, and they have given us more of an insight, right? They brought us an insight to where he's being held and incarcerated, and his nephew, Oram, is also incarcerated in the same prison. And the conditions, and before the conditions he's in is they're very terrible, right? They're not sanitized. They're not, as these reports were given out as lately as of now that Maduro, as the persons that are following the case of Maduro, he was recently arrested and he was taken to the same prison that Nassau and Joram are being held at. And we wanted to give this information, is any information that is now being told to the organization, to the church members, or the members, is that he doesn't have as much communication maybe as the one when he was in Chino, California. And now it's just keep an open mind where he's at. Keep an open mind of where he's being held, and it's not as the very nice place where he's at. Even though in his recent letters he says he's fine, he's doing okay, but based on his new evidence that has been coming out from where he's being detained, they're not sanitary. Who's okay by sleeping in a metal bed? Who's okay to use a restroom, a metal restroom? It's cold. And watching some of these news documentaries, they're stating that this mainly kept cold, and they're only given a single blanket and and don't have access to much at all. They're always at this location that he's at now. He's being watched over, very vigilant. They're vigilant on his whereabouts and what he does, because as we know, he is a highly guarded person. He was already condemned to 16 years, 8 months, right? So
remember that he already had pleaded guilty.
Right.
And the thing that we were going to show you a video of California, but for some reason I did not load it. So I ended up showing you the conditions that he is in New York at this moment. And what he was saying is that we were able to see through the Maduro case, where was he taken to? And they're specifying more the conditions of the jail. But the point is, or that we want to make you think, it's that maybe, and just maybe, everything that happened before with these testimonies that we shared with you, maybe that was true. Okay, we'll give you the benefit of the doubt that it was true. What we want to show you, we want to tell you that from now on, moving forward, if you hear any of these testimonies, they're not true, because according to federal prison, there is no religion at all. They're not based. It's not permitted. Singing, any religion is not permitting. Gathering together to do this and all that is not allowed. So basically, if you hear from now on any information or any of these testimonies that he is invading the church with the prison, they're invading the prison with the Evangelio, is not happening. It's not true. Based on what we see here, and he's very, like I say, what we need to find out is if he is in the 10th floor. So, do you hear about the 10th floor? That's where the more high inmates, like with more higher, how is it, profiles?
The higher profile.
The higher profile are on the 10th floor, and that's where they don't get this time out. They only get an hour or 2 hours of break during the day to go outside on the tejaban or el techo. But basically, it's not permitted. It's not permitted. So we will see. We will see if the members will, or the organization will tell the members about it.
Cannot happen because that's not permitted, and religion is not permitted at a federal prison. They cannot preach. They cannot bring religion in, any type of religion, not just because they're trying to not allow the leader of LDM Church to preach about religion, his religion, but it's not permitted, and not in a federal prison. They're more strict. They have stricter rules. And the case that, and the reason we brought this video is because if moving forward, if they come out with these testimonies like Russo, right, and they say that that he's in there preaching and he's converting, well, once again, it's the facts. The facts is that's not allowed, and that's what we want to bring here.
And I found this document that says it is important to understand how federal detention works. It says federal detention facilities do not allow unrestricted movements. They do not allow free gatherings. They do not allow inmates to preach freely, to hold assemblies, or to exercise authority over others. Religion practice in federal custody is strictly regulated, supervised, and limited. Inmates do not have the authority to pardon others. Inmates do not have the authority to release others. Only courts can do that. This is not about who that person is. This is how the federal system operates, regardless of status or belief.
That's basically what we wanted to bring today in this live that we did today. We want to bring a little awareness to what's being told to the members, and even awareness of how now we're using this person, the director of this organization, LDM, La Luz del Mundo, where he's now held. Meanwhile, he waits his trial. Just to let the audience know, there is a trial scheduled for March the 12th of this year. He has a scheduled date for March the 12th. When we will be following that case once on March the 12th. We'll be bringing it here live. We will talk about it. We will talk about what happens there. We'll bring the information as we can bring it live to you. We will work on trying to bring more of this information as we get it from the court documents to others, to our future lives that we'll be bringing. We will work on trying to do at least 2 lives per week. And basically that's what we're going to work on, trying to get 2 lives. We will go more in depth into some of these documents. Different documents. We will talk in depth. We'll bring more information to the public and for anyone that wants. And if anybody has any questions or want to suggest any topic or any information that you want to know about this organization, or you want to know what's going on with the cases that are in right now that are pending, just letting the audience know that Sochi's case, those that are following it, there's a case which is an ex-member of this organization. She has a case against this organization in California. It is a RICO case, and that case has not been closed. That case is pending. There's a pending trial date for February the 3rd of this year. It's a hearing, and once we get close to that date, or there's other information or any updates on that case, we will bring it here. And there's also another case that's on the Jane Doe's case. There's a civil case against this organization brought by Jane Doe's, and we'll explain it in another live who the Jane Doe's are. But just want to let the audience know that's here, that there's 3 pending cases that are against this organization. The most important one that's right now is the federal case. It's a federal case, which is a RICO case against this organization. There's a secondary case, which is also a RICO case, which is a Sochi's case, but it's a civil case. So it runs about the same lines, but it's still open. There is, like I said, a pending date for that Sochi's case for February the 3rd. It might get moved pending on the lawyers, but if there is a movement or there's any new updates on that case, we will bring it here. But that case, for many that are been following it or want to know, it is not closed. It's not been. There's been rumors that I've been told, and they've also told the church that case has been closed and that case does not exist any longer. But there is court documents that state otherwise, and there is a court date for February the 3rd in the Federal Court of California. Yeah, sure. Yeah, we're gonna bring the information from the recent court case that we have that he's going through, and we will bring the information that right now, as we speak, we know that Eva de Joaquin Garcia does not have ability to be around other inmates. She's prohibited to be around other inmates, and also Nason is prohibited to be around other inmates, and Joram is also in the same situation.
And the reason why we're saying this is because the court says it.
Right, the court says it. And this podcast that we talked about was that they tell the church that he's allowed to have his little groups and preach and go about talking to other inmates, right? But we want to emphasize that he does not have those liberties.
Because if Eva Joaquin Garcia, it doesn't have that liberty because of what she did, the same thing, it makes sense that Nason Joaquin Garcia doesn't have the same liberty either. And like I said, we're going to talk about that case through those documents and let you know why is he accused of, and you will understand why he's not able to be out there with the other inmates for obvious reasons.
We'll be bringing other lives, like I was said before. We're going to have at least 2 lives per week. Try to keep this moving forward.
Thank you, guys. Adios.
Mic is on, lights are ready, no disguises, no confetti. This is truth, no superstition. We don't tell stories, we bring facts, not fiction. Open ears, open mind, what you'll hear is real this time. We are truth on the table, no condition. We are presenting facts, not fiction. We are no fear, no manipulation. We are this is information. Facts, not fiction. No myths. No myths. No superstition. Real voices, real information. We are facts, not fiction.